We're going live.
We'll do it live.
Okay.
This is the Come On Man podcast. And here's your host, Paul Bauer.
Good morning, everybody. It's Friday. We made it. Here we are. It's the weekend. Remember, there's no cold approach in the cow pasture this weekend, guys. No cold approach in the cow pasture. I'm having fun with these new merch mugs that I got. So if you are looking for these, my Teespring store is linked below here on YouTube. If you guys are watching on Facebook or Twitter, head on over to YouTube like the cool kids. Like I say every morning that I do these things, we are live Wednesday and Friday mornings at 10 a.m. Eastern time. But if you can't make it, that's what the replays are for. Before we get into the topic at hand, let's start off with some housekeeping, and then I'll bring my guest on. Be sure to like, subscribe, hit those notifications. Drop a comment. Any comment will do. Your favorite emoji. If you're watching the live replay, drop a comment below. If you guys are watching live right now, sound off in the chat. That way, it's a little more interactive. It's a little more fun that way. Be sure to follow me on all social media. All the links are in the description. I'm on all the cool sites. Follow me on Instagram though. I'm really trying to build up my Instagram. I think TikTok is trash. I'm on my third TikTok account now. It's ridiculous. Join the Patreon. Support the show by joining the Patreon. Patreon.com/ComeOnManPod. You can join for as little as $10. And then that gets you on the beer credits on Monday's episodes. And you get all of Monday's interviews ad-free with that. And anybody that is joined the Patreon can get my Law of Attraction course for half off for the entire month. And that time is running out. You only have like 5 days left. So if you guys have been thinking about doing this and taking advantage of the 50% off my Practical Law of Attraction course, like, what are you waiting for? What are you even doing with your life right now? And then get on my email list.comeonmanpod.com, and I will send you some free stickers. And, like I, have here, all these designs are available as merch as well. So go to merch.comeonmanpod.com for that. The link for all this stuff is down in the description. And then finally, if you want to support the show, just a one-time thing, send a super chat, while we're chatting here, send a super chat, and I'll play you a fun little thing like this.
Who's the master?
All right. Now, normally I would play a commercial for my Law of Attraction course, but I'm not going to do that today because we are joined by Evan from Performance Potential. Evan, what's going on, brother?
Man, it's great to see you. It's been too long.
It has been way too long. Check this out. Ready? The Conversation Conversion Blueprint Dating App course.
There
Link
we go.
in the bio. There we
There
go.
we go, baby.
So Evan put together this course here, and so Evan's sort of sponsoring this show today. But what do we got? We got people in the chat right now. Hey, howdy, Lee. Thanks for joining today, brother. Good morning, Danny. What's going on? All right, Evan, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing great, man. It's good to be back. It was funny you talked about TikTok earlier. I think sometimes the algorithm of that app gets more toxic every day, but it makes for good content. I've been really busy expanding on YouTube, so I'm excited about that.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've noticed that you've got longer form content going on YouTube now, so that's really cool.
Yeah, I've got about 10 more videos that are edited and scheduled to be published, so that's good news.
That's good. How often do you publish?
So for the first month and a half, I'm going to be probably 2 to 3 videos a week, long form. Shorts is pretty much every other day.
You only post shorts every other day?
Yeah, pretty much.
Is that the same on TikTok every other day?
So it's a little bit different. On TikTok, I'll usually post every day when I've batch produced content, but I'm also repurposing for both apps. So whatever I think is going to perform best on both, I'll kind of go from there. But you know, like the algorithms for some of these applications too. Like if they know a video comes from TikTok, they don't really push it very much. So
Mhm.
if you're thinking about like Instagram, if you're thinking about YouTube, like a lot of times when you make these videos in TikTok, the other apps don't like it.
That's why I never make any of my videos in TikTok anymore. Mainly
Yeah.
because like I got really used to doing that because I kept getting banned and like I couldn't get the video out of TikTok. So I started just recording everything on the phone camera and then editing it in CapCut and then I just push it
Yeah.
everywhere after
I
that.
think I
So
think CapCut is a good way to start. And you can even film in there now and you can create the cuts and the edits right in there too.
yeah, oh I noticed that. Yeah, because I used to have to basically download someone's video offline with some kind of, video downloader that removed the watermark,
Yep.
and then record my stuff separately to do stitches, which I still do that for stitches, but one thing I couldn't do is voiceovers. So if I wanted to do like a funny little, lip sync or something, which I like to do occasionally because those are fun. But I couldn't do it outside of the TikTok app. So I was like, this sucks. But you can do that now in CapCut. So I'm like, screw you.
I had to laugh at your C4 post yesterday.
Yeah, it's got beta power.
Come on, man. Come on, man. Paul is running on beta power this morning.
Well, it's funny. I like energy drinks. I typically like to drink Rain energy drinks, but
Yeah.
I noticed I'm a pro wrestling fan too, and like C4 is sponsoring WrestleMania, I think. And so or they sponsored Elimination Chamber anyway, and I was like, oh, C4, and I noticed that they're priced around the same thing, so I was like, oh, I'll get some of these, try them out, and then I noticed the beta power thing. I'm like, I gotta make a TikTok about it.
That's funny, man.
So we were going to talk about 10 things we see guys struggling with in our date coaching practices, and you sent me a list of 5, and then I came up with a list of 5. So let's start with your first one, which I have written down here as, why do women pull back / lose interest over time?
Yeah. So I will say that there is a massive misconception about this topic if you ask men versus women. I really do. So if you ask women why they pull back, a lot of times women will refer to it in the lens of a relationship. So they'll think about it like, okay, I was dating this guy for a month or so and he didn't do XYZ. And it's because she's attributing all of these things that she really looks for in a relationship. But in reality, in the early part of the dating process, what she's looking for is different, right? And a lot of times women will say, I want a guy who's going to be in a relationship with me, who's my best friend. He's nice, he's caring, he does all these things. And that is very important in a long-term relationship, right? Like in a long-term relationship. But in the early part of the dating process, to build attraction with a woman and to build chemistry, those things are not that important, right? And you and I both know that after working with a lot of guys. But the reason why women pull back is because men have no patience. So what happens is a guy meets a woman who he thinks is very attractive, and because he thinks that she's wife material just because what she looks like, he dives in head first and she pulls back because she's scared, right? And subconsciously
He starts treating it like it's a long-term relationship before that's what it
yeah.
actually is. Yeah.
And subconsciously women don't like this because they know the only reason you're doing that is because it's just physical attraction. She knows you don't know anything about her, her friends, her family, her hobbies, her intelligence, nothing about her. And subconsciously, she knows, why is this guy so invested in me when in reality, he doesn't know anything about me? So subconsciously, women know this, but they don't necessarily know it's because he's trying too hard. So for me, when I'm talking to guys, I'm coaching guys, there's 3 pillars for success with women. The first one is patience. The second one is confidence. And the third one is indifference. So if you can display all of those things in the early part of the dating process, you're going to be very successful. So you have to be, of course, patient. You have to vet this woman out. You have to approach it from a mindset of, how can I qualify her to be a good partner as opposed to her qualifying me? The second thing is you need to be confident and you need to be unshakable in the regard of, if she's doing stuff like this, if she's pulling back, if she's showing low interest, I don't care. It doesn't matter. And then the third one is indifference. You can't be tied to the outcome of getting a relationship. Even if that's your goal, you cannot be tied to the outcome of that goal. You need to focus on just enjoying your time together and building up chemistry, not getting a relationship.
Yeah, definitely. I would say, so my next one actually goes hand in hand with this because, it's funny. Actually, let's talk about this for a little bit though. So there's so many guys out there, especially in the red pill community, they get so hung up on this idea of hypergamy.
Yeah.
Right. But hypergamy is dualistic. It's alpha seed, beta need. And so the long-term relationship stuff is the beta need portion. Like women do need that. They do want that. But in order to get to that point, you have to have the alpha side of you, the alpha fuck side of you. Oh yeah, I'm past the 8-minute mark. We're okay. You have to have that. And you sort of need to lead with that because that's what makes you like attractive. That's what makes her want to invest in you. Like women do want to try to consolidate on an alpha. Yes. I'd say quote alpha, but that's what they want to consolidate on. And then that's where you have to add that comfort side, and that's where the beta bucks comes from.
Well, think about it. I always attribute the dating process to business, right? So think about this in terms of like recruiting or sales. So think about it this way. You have attract and you have retain. If you want to attract women, you need to be a guy who's physically attractive, confident, has his stuff together. She wants to be with you. She's attracted to you. But what's going to keep her around is going to be some of these other characteristics. So attract and retain is always going to be a little bit different. For instance, the pickup guys, if they're good at it, a lot of them act like they're good at it, but they're not good at it. The pickup guys are good at attraction. They're good at getting women interested, sweeping them off their feet. But they're not good at retaining women because they don't have the characteristics of a long-term partner. So you have to think about it as like attract versus retain. How can I attract women? And then how can I also retain them because I'm the type of person they want to stay with? Like for instance, if a girl hooks up with a guy who is super successful, maybe he's an athlete and it looks like he has all these long-term characteristics, but he's completely inconsistent. He never shows up. He treats her like complete garbage. Only women with baggage and mental issues will stay with a guy like that, right? And most men don't want to actually be in a long-term relationship with a woman like that. So you have to display some characteristics of being a healthy long-term partner, especially with women who are normal, not with women who are like, batshit, with women who are normal. So have to think about it as like attract versus retain.
Yeah. That's a good way to think about it. But this goes hand in hand with what I have for the second one, for number 2, which is guys overinvest with women they like and are disinterested in women they aren't. And what they end up doing is, so this one guy he would come to me and be like, yeah, I can hook up with chicks. He's like, but they're all chicks that I don't want, I don't like them. They're not long-term candidates. It's like, but the chicks I really like, I don't know why, but I like, they'll ghost me after the first date or whatever. And when we dug into it, you could tell that like his text interactions and, his conversations with the women that he didn't care about were very indifferent, very nonchalant, treated him like a human being, right? Yep. Wasn't like overly pushing for going on a date. Wasn't, just very aloof. And these chicks were just clamoring for him. But the chicks that
he's different than the other men, right? He's acting differently than the other men. The problem is when a woman puts you in the bucket, like he's like every other guy on Hinge, he's like every other guy on Bumble, he's like every other guy on Tinder. She knows that you will always be there when she wants you there. She could not answer you for 2 weeks. She could not care about you. And she knows just because you want to hook up with her that you will be there. She's going to pick the guy who's more of a scarce resource, not because he's a scarce resource, but because she knows subconsciously that he has something to offer.
Yeah. Cause usually women look at it like, I can't lock this guy down. He's so busy or whatever. Like, what's he up to? It's sort of like, you let their hamster wheel work that. But yeah, so he wasn't doing that with the chicks that he liked. So he was over pursuing. You could tell in his text conversations, he was sending like these big long text bubbles to them, and they were sending like very lackluster responses. And I'm like, dude, you could just hold your phone back a little bit. You can see that you're chasing her right here with text, just by the bubble size. So that's one thing that I would point out to him is like, dude, you got to treat these chicks that you are really into the same way that you treat these chicks that you're not into. You have to treat them all the same. Because they can tell, like a chick can tell when you're chasing her, and they're like cats.
and that's the thing. And another massive misconception in dating and I don't know why so many women hate when we say this, for the relationship to start with any kind of desire or respect for the man, she needs to want the relationship. She needs to pursue the guy.
Mhm.
I don't care. People will get so angry on the internet when I say that women should pursue, but it's true. And anybody who disagrees doesn't know what it's like to have a woman pursue them. She's not arguing with you. She's not like she desires you. She wants to sleep with you, and it's just easy. She doesn't mind setting
Mhm.
plans to hang out. She doesn't mind texting you first. That's what it looks like when a woman is pursuing you. So if you're a guy and you've never experienced that, you've never felt that, it's because you don't know how to get women to pursue you. And you have to learn how to get women to pursue you, because then you're in the driver's seat of when a relationship happens. You're not sitting there waiting for her to be like, okay, fine, fine, Trevor, fine, Matthew. Okay, I'll be in a relationship with you now. You're so persistent. Guys who are persistent and get into relationships, they get no action. Like, I hate to say it, but
Yeah.
they're just like, they're the ones who like, man, it's been a month and a half. My wife doesn't like me anymore. It's because she doesn't respect you. It's really
Yeah.
not any more complicated than that.
Right. Have you read Sell or Be Sold by Grant Cardone?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Dude, he's
I
got
actually, so in my earlier days, in my corporate days, my corporate career, I was in sales for a really long time, which is why, and Corey Wayne talks about this. He talks about how like a lot of this is very like business like, a lot of this is very sales like. And I actually consumed a lot of Cardone's content when I first started in sales because I was just picking up the phone and I was cold calling all the time. So yeah, I've definitely read that book.
but there's a story in there about how he met his wife, and he basically just hounded her for like
Yeah.
a year and like a month or two, and just was like begging her to go on a date. And it was like, I'm sitting there listening to that, just cringing, like, dude, this is not a win for you, bro. Like, it's not a win to just like beat a girl down into submission until she finally goes out and goes, fuck, all right, I'll go out with you. Shit.
Yeah, that's nothing to be. I don't think anybody's really impressed by that. But I will say, from a guy's perspective, and here's where I might differ from a few people. In the lens of a dating app, and I talk about this in my course, in the lens of a dating app, it is okay to double message. Some people might disagree with me, but the bottom line is very attractive women with a lot of options. Sometimes, yeah, they get busy, right? We know that's a lie. Sometimes they're busy, but the bottom line is you have to get yourself to the top of the pile again. So if you're messaging with a girl a couple times, or maybe you sent one or two messages back and forth, and she didn't answer, I recommend giving it like 2 days and then sending another very short, quick message. Like, for instance, I've seen success in the past. Like, again, make it like business. Like, especially if she has like a corporate type career, she's like, she's one of those types of women. Put in quotes and just say, following up on the above, LOL. And I've had that work so many times, because the bottom line is, if a woman is interested in you, if you follow up one time and don't message one time, she's not going to think you're a complete beta male. It doesn't work like that, right? So the only reason guys don't follow up is because of their ego. For instance, if you send another message and she doesn't answer and you don't even know this person, what does it matter if she doesn't answer? You're right where you started off before. But I can tell you, I would say 40 or 50% of the time, if you didn't completely blow it and your profile is good, you will get a response. The date percentage will be a little bit lower than women who just answer you right off the bat, but she will answer you about 50% of the time. I promise you. Just try it. But it's not going to work if your profile is crap. We have to be honest there.
Yeah, I think we talked about that the last time you were on. How that's the only time that double texting is somewhat acceptable. But yeah, one thing I will say about your profile, this actually is going into the third one, the third thing, which was you put dating apps. Like, people just suck at dating apps. They're struggling with dating apps. Look, dating apps come down to 4 things, in my opinion, right? It's your bio, your picture. Well, actually, your pictures first, bio, how you open, and then how you're closing for dates. And if your pictures are crap, your bio sucks. A lot of guys like to have a very negative bio. They're like, I don't want this. I don't want a girl with tattoos. I don't want a girl who smokes. If you know what? If you're a bitch, don't even talk to me. It's like all that negative stuff just screams that you're a negative person. No one wants to hang out with a negative person. And one thing that I learned from another dating coach friend of mine, and I think I might have mentioned this to you before too, is that I went to a dating coach retreat with him, and he was showing how women just sort of look at messages in preview mode, which is why your method of putting your message to the top of the pile works, because women are looking at everything and they're trying to filter guys out in preview mode, and they will, if something catches their eye, they're not immediately going to the message. They're looking at your picture. Is he cute? Okay, let's look at his profile. All right, now I'll reply to this guy. It's not like like you have to really get their attention because they're trying to filter.
You're right. It's like
guys out,
it's
not
like
trying to
the
create
subject
matches.
line of an email. You're right. And sometimes what I've seen be successful on this as well is purposefully put in a very small typo, right? But fix it immediately. So you put in something like, I know you're whatever, whatever. And then immediately like autocorrect that with YOU apostrophe RE. And then when she's going through her messages, she's going to say like, you are what? You know what I'm saying? So she's going to click on the conversation. She's going to be more interested in getting back in there. Now, the goal, like everything with guys, the hard part for men usually is just getting to the first date. And if you're okay on first dates, and if you're good at the sales portion of dating, which is the actual dates, then you can progress that on to a few dates. But we all know as guys, the hardest part is getting the dates, right? Meeting the quality women and getting the dates. So that's why I say it's not a bad idea to double message sometimes on dating apps, because if you really think a girl is super attractive and you know that she's not completely out of your league, which we all know is kind of a fake concept of whatever, but the goal is to just get the date. So if you have to double message occasionally, it's not that big of a deal. You just have to make sure you don't say something dumb. It has to be calibrated to the situation. It has to be witty. It has to be interesting. And an example I gave in my course is, I got down the rabbit hole of like, because women like to talk about astrology. We're messaging about astrology, right? And she stopped answering after like we sent probably like 3 or 4 messages back a piece, which is usually one away from where I go to close the interaction to get her number and to set the date. But I sent back some response along the lines of like, hey, just because our signs aren't compatible doesn't mean it wouldn't be a match in person. Text me. I sent her my number. She texted me 20 minutes later. She's like, sorry, I suck on Hinge. Like, it's not hard, guys. The hard part, like Paul said, is getting your profile to be like a marketable profile and having it be interesting. So I think that's really it. Like the messages are very important, but you have to have your profile dialed in, and the messages matter less.
Mhm.
And don't linger. Get to the point. Go to set the date. Another pro tip: please do this. Please do this. I'm not saying put a voice prompt on your profile. I recommend for the most part, don't do that because most of you guys might mess that up. But send a voice note occasionally for 2 reasons. The first reason is it builds, trust, comfortability, familiarity. She's getting a bit more of like a sensory perspective of who you are, what you sound like. But on top of that, it's a test, because if she sends a voice note back, she is also interested, right? So if you send a voice note to her and she sends one back, she's pretty interested, because I can guarantee you out of the 100 plus men she's matched with in the last couple weeks, she's not sending them voice notes. They're not sending her voice notes. And if they are, they're probably completely cringe. So I think you're going to be ahead of the game there. So send the occasional voice notes. If she sends one back, respond one time, wait for her response, and then close the interaction. Right? So you have to think about it. 3 or 4 messages back and forth a piece. Try to mix in a voice note to respond to one of her statements. Ask her a question via voice note. When she answers, acknowledge, agree, move forward, and then set the date by asking for her number. Ask for a number with the expectation you're going to go out sometime.
Yeah, the setting the voice message thing is a total game changer. Voice message and even video messages, if you could do it, just because. Yeah, like women want to hear your voice. They want to sort of like that sort of tells them that you're not a creepo.
Yeah.
They can see, you can they can hear your inflection in your voice. Like all that stuff is super important for women, and that's why like a lot of guys recommend getting their number and actually setting the date over the phone. I would always set the dates up on the app itself, but yeah, I mean there's a reason for the phone call, and it's so that she can hear your voice, and you can sort of get her emotions spiked. So when she's excited for the date.
Yeah, and you can vet her out as well. Recent example with one of my clients, what he did is he got her number off the app, and he actually got it from a double message. It's so funny, like what we talk about, guys. It works. If you're watching, I'm serious. Like this stuff works. You have to try it. So he double messages after about a day and a half later, and he said something super short. And she's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm terrible at this. And she texted him a minute later. Like, I shit you not. It was literally a minute after he sent the message. She texted him because, again, she wanted to see, is he going to put in effort? He put in some effort. Is he normal? He didn't get annoyed. He didn't get angry when she didn't answer, because a lot of you guys get butthurt. And you're like, okay, I guess not. And you start to cry and complain. Just relax. It's not that big of a deal. And he did things right. So she texts him, and he's like, essentially along the lines of like, hey, thanks for reaching out. Let's get together sometime next week. But if you want to, we should FaceTime in the meantime. And this was interesting because I want to get your perspective on this. I'm sure you're not big on dinner dates in the first date, but she messaged back and she said, yeah, we should be able to do that. But essentially, instead of FaceTiming, why don't we just grab dinner? And I think like the cogs were turning in his mind, like, what should I do? What should I do? And he was like, okay, because you're being transparent, straightforward, like, let's go get dinner. And then what happened was, literally less than like 6-7 hours later, this girl flakes. She says, no, I think actually we should do the FaceTime, and then next week we can do dinner. And see, now to me, this
That's
one's a weird one
test,
because
man.
it is, right? It is. But this one for me, like in my experience, my clients and my own personal dating life, I haven't run into that one a whole lot. Like if a woman says set dinner day and then she like immediately like, less than half a day later before the date says that we shouldn't do dinner, it's because she's either entertaining somebody else. She didn't like the way that you responded. She didn't like the place you picked, but this is immediate disqualification. She's gone.
Mm-hmm.
She's immediately
she's
out.
not she's not that interested is really what it comes down to.
Well, she's also annoying and high maintenance.
Yeah.
She's immediately out. And the reason why she's out is because you listened, you did what she said, and she responded poorly. It's a cognitive dissonance. I'm out. Like my client sends me these pictures. I'm like, do not pursue. You're going to be a waste of your time. Going to be a waste of your money. She's going to complain. She probably didn't like the place that you picked. Don't waste your time.
Also, one thing too is she's setting the tone and leading there. If she's going, why don't you take me out to dinner? That's her trying to set the tone, and you don't want that. You you want to be setting the tone and leading that the entire interaction. You really do.
Correct. And she, and like you said, she didn't want to go along with the FaceTime suggestion, which is the first red flag. The dinner is the second red flag because she wants the princess mentality, princess treatment. Yeah. And then he's like, okay, like I'll bend, I'll do it. And then she immediately changes back to what he wanted. It's like, nope, don't do it. Don't do it. There's so many women out there that won't play these bullshit games. Like, don't do it. Do not succumb to the BS.
I had a chick on a dating app one time. So my go-tos, I always do drinks in the evening. That's always what I do. Just try to keep it low investment. First date's a chemistry test. So I would always go to either the Feisty Pint in Grand Junction or the Horsefly in Montrose. Those were my go-tos. So there was this chick in Montrose, and so I said, hey, why don't we meet up for drinks 7 p.m. at the Horsefly? And she's like, at first she's like, okay. And then she goes, I just don't understand why guys aren't taking girls out to dinner anymore. Like, why aren't they, stepping up or whatever? I just unfollowed her right there. I was like, I'm not dealing with this shit,
But I think it's a simple answer. It's not always about the money. It's about the lack of familiarity. If I met a woman in person and she was great and she was cool, I'll take her to dinner. I have no problem with that. I've met her. I know she's normal. I have no problem with that because I know it's probably going to be worth my investment. Because if I meet a woman in person and I determine that she's great enough to go on a date with, let's go on a real date. Let's go on a dinner date. I'm fine with that. That's not a big deal for me. I can afford that. That's not a problem because I've met you. If I have not FaceTimed with you, you're not getting dinner. It's just not happening because I don't know you. Because again, guys, the way that Paul and I want you to think is that you need to start qualifying, not getting qualified. You need to think about it and start to date like women do. Like women are more patient. They're weighing their options. They're getting their options up. They're wondering, is this worth my time? All this other stuff. And then they're proceeding forward with the top, whatever percentage of men. The reason why men do that is because they don't have enough options. So you have to get your options up and then you'll date with abundance. But if you can't get your options up and you can't date in abundance, you're going to settle for all this bullshit. You're going to settle for all the stuff that women are doing that you don't like. So you have to get your options up so you're not settling in failing all of the, settling for these women who are testing you all the time. Because when a woman really wants you, there will be a few tests along the way, but you've already passed them and you just don't know. So you're not going to have to deal with all of these conscious tests that she's giving you.
Yeah. And I would say this too for guys because struggling to get one date is hard for a lot of guys. you're right, they don't have patience. It's like, if you can't get that first date, you still have to be patient. So you need to start finding other things to do, right? Start finding hobbies, something that you really get invested in outside of women. That'll make you more attractive anyway. Like,
Yeah.
guys that have other things going on outside of relationships, like chicks are sort of into that.
Yeah.
So
You'd be more interesting too.
yeah. So I would recommend that. So getting back onto our list here. So we've done 3 so far. We're already half hour in. So the fourth one I have here is dumping all their baggage on a new prospect. So I had a guy who he was having a very stressful day at work, and some chick, just sends a random text, just to check in with him, and said, "So hey, how's your day going?" And he says, "You really want to know? Okay." Just like word vomits in a text on like all the shit that he's dealing with in the day. And she ended up she's like, "Wow, that's a lot," or something. And then they were supposed to have a date like the next day. And she's like, "You know what? Let's not do this." And he's like, "What do you think I did here?" I was like, dude, don't you dumped all your baggage on her, man. Like, the chicks don't care, for one. They really don't care about your struggles. So really, if you're having a tough day, just be like, "You know what? My day's a little rough, but I'll handle it." Like, answer it like that. Keep everything positive and upbeat. Have you ever had a guy do that?
Yeah, it's because I think sometimes people are too transparent. I mean, ultimately, and this goes for men or women, nobody's trying to date somebody who's negative. Like, nobody's trying to date somebody who has a struggle of a life. Like, ultimately, if a guy and a girl could pick their ideal partner, it would be somebody whose life is relatively in order. We're not looking for a project. I don't think anybody's looking for a project. It's the whole like funny meme, like women saying, "I can fix them." It's like, yeah, they might want to fix your semi-emotional unavailability, but they don't want to fix your life. Like, if you can't pay the mortgage, and if your job sucks, and if you're like completely depressed, I don't think so. If women are looking for, stability, they're looking for a confident guy, they're looking for somebody who's successful, save the complaining for later. Also, the text messages, they have no context. If you're on a date and you want to, you want to BS and you want to be a little bit negative about your day, completely fine if you do it the right way. Anything with a smile on your face, can be said and accepted to a degree. But if you're texting that, there's no context. Like, they don't know how you're saying that. So if you want to complain about your day for 30 seconds on a date, you talk about how much, traffic was hell today, go for it. But don't do that via text. Keep it positive, move the interaction and the engagement forward, and set the freaking date and get off the phone. Like, stop complaining about shit and be positive. And also, like, if your life is not like where you want it to be and it's not positive, you should be fixing that, right? Like, that's something you should be working on.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, one thing too that I had to learn, because I used to be over transparent like that. I used to be very negative, and I had to learn that women just sort of want you to be their rock too. Like, they want to be able to come to you with their problems. They want you to listen, but it doesn't work in reverse. It doesn't work in reverse. So it's like, you always have to sort of keep a positive spin on stuff, make her at least feel like you've got things under control and that you can handle it. And if you can't, save that shit for your boys. Like, talk to your guy friends about this stuff. Talk to your therapist about this stuff. Like, don't dump it on chicks. Like, they don't care. It's harsh to say, but it's true. Let's get to the next one. You have here becoming more confident in general on dates.
Yep. So to be successful at anything, you have to do it more. So if you want to be confident on dates, I have guys come to me, and before I started coaching men, I was kind of like 50-50 on this topic. I personally would not and have never gone on dates with women that I'm not attracted to. But I have coached guys that go out and will have some practice dates. I know, Paul, you've talked about this in the past, where, hey, maybe it's not ideal, maybe she's not as attractive as in her profile, but focus on getting more comfortable having interactions with women. And this will be an unpopular opinion from the guys in the dating coaching community, and you'll probably disagree with me here. Don't be just friends with a woman who you're romantically attracted to, but I'm still going to tell you there's more upside than downside to doing that, as long as you understand you're probably not going to escape the friend zone with her. So let me dive a little bit deeper into that. if you're a guy and you're friend zoned by a girl, understand that until you start going and dating other women and getting your life together, she's probably not going to be into you. So that's how you can escape the friend zone in a very short fashion. I did a full video on this as well. But when you're friends with women, you have the ability to expand your social circle to meet more women. So, for instance, if you're friends with a couple girls that are part of your friend group and you can meet more women as a byproduct of that, I consider that a win. On top of that, if you go out in a group of people and it's not you and two thirsty dudes, hunting at the bar, if you're in a friend group that includes women, those women can help vet you out to being a good guy to those other women at the bar that you're into. And it can also induce a little bit of competition anxiety. So as much as guys in the dating coach community say, don't be friends with women. Yes, I agree. Don't be friends with women that you're trying to date. Like if you're trying to date a woman, you're going on dates and then she says you're just friends. Don't do that. But also I don't recommend burning a bridge, because you can be friends with women that will introduce you to more women. And for all the guys who disagree, you probably haven't done it yet. You probably haven't seen it work, but for my clients and me personally, it's worked very well, because you want to expand your social circle. If you're a guy who hangs out with two different guys and you don't know women, you don't hang out with women at all, it's hard for you to speak on this topic, right? So that's what I would kind of encourage with that, is like, don't completely not be friends with women because you think it's going to make you a beta or something like that. But in terms of being more confident on dates, you need to go on more dates. You need to talk to more women. And you also need to be more focused and on your purpose in your own life. Because if you're not feeling good about where you are in your life right now, it's going to be very hard for you to be, confident on dates, because you don't really have anything good to talk about.
Yeah, that makes sense. Sorry, they're saying in the chat here that my audio's messed up. I switched to this mic. Do I sound okay? Chat?
Yeah, you sound all right to me. At first there was a little bit of buzzing, but it seems better now.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the microphone or if it's my bandwidth or whatever.
But so was it your audio? Was it my audio?
Well, so the reason why I thought it was yours was because I was hearing a little bit of lag occasionally on your end, but no, apparently it's just my end. This happens periodically. I don't know what's going on. I think it's my country. I have fiber internet too, but I live out in the middle of nowhere. And I think
it's all good. You sound fine now. Before you were lagging a little bit to me, and I just figured it was my connection.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna try switching back to this other mic, and then if we continue having problems, I'll just go back to the headphone mic here.
Okay.
All right. How's this? Is this better?
Sounds good.
Are we good? Chat? Are we good? Okay. So going back to practice dates. I got the idea of practice dates from Dr. Robert Glover's Dating Essentials for Men book. He recommended that guys do what he called a 12 for 12. So just 12 random chicks, 12 practice dates in a 12-week period. And I was like, that just seems excessive when you go on like half your dating app dates are going to be catfish dates anyway. Unless you do the FaceTime thing, right? That eliminates a lot of the catfishing.
Yeah.
But if you just would go out on dates, which I never did the the FaceTime stuff. I would just meet them out in person. So that a lot of my dates were catfish dates. I was just like perfect opportunity for practice. Chicks would always I started recognizing the angles and all that kind of stuff, but you cannot eliminate the chicks that have pictures that are 10 years old. You can't do that. But anyway, it was good practice. It ended up being great practice.
So what is your take on the FaceTime before a date? Do you think that I think it's optimal. And the reason why I think it's optimal is if it's done right, it works well for the man who doesn't want to waste his time and money. Mm-hmm. But suggesting a FaceTime instead of a regular date, some women get weirded out by that. Like, I don't know, and you know this, I've coached a lot of women in the past too. So for the guys who are watching that either don't follow me on TikTok or whatever, I mean, I would say like 38% of my following on there is actually women. And women reach out because women just consume more relationship content. I don't know if men understand that or not, but women are consumers and women consume more relationship content. I think men consume more dating content because there's a difference. But a lot of times when I make videos about, breakups, the dynamics of relationships, women reach out and they're like, how do I know if I'm dating a quality guy or not? But I will say more often than not, like women are okay and more comfortable doing a FaceTime date. But I've talked to some women that are like, if he proposed a FaceTime date, that would be weird. But a
Uh-huh.
minority.
Yeah. So my take on FaceTime dates is they're great if going on catfish dates really frustrates you. Then it's like then
Yeah.
do that. But if it doesn't bother you and you actually welcome the practice, then I don't think it's necessary. You know.
Yeah.
As far as women consuming content, this sort of goes off our list here, but women do actually read a lot of like Cosmo and like articles about relationships and stuff like that. So there's this myth that women are better at relationships than men because of that stuff. But it's like if they really were naturally better at relationships, they wouldn't be reading all that stuff. Like women suck at relationships just as much as guys suck at relationships.
Yeah. I think we all struggle with it, and it's all because we don't speak each other's language. It's like,
Yeah.
and I also think it's because people are projecting like maybe what they want in the relationship phase, in the dating phase, because I think that they are most definitely different. Like we talked about before, women have this dichotomy of, in a long-term relationship, it's kind of like goes down to like the alpha, and the beta, right? It's like kind of like the beta male provider versus the guy who's like a Chad. And there is something to be said about that. There are most definitely men that women will only sleep with, but he's dumb as a box of rocks, and they would not be in a long-term relationship with him. He's the guy that they would sleep with on Saturday, but they wouldn't introduce to their family because he's a bum. And then like 6-7 years down the road, she wants to settle down with like the nice, predictable guy because he's a good quote unquote provider. I've seen women make a lot of videos saying, and I agree to an extent, that women really don't care that much about attraction, physical attraction. They do, but not as much as men care about physical attraction. So when you're a woman and you're dating guys, like if you're looking for a long-term relationship, you're looking for more things than just physical attraction.
Yeah, definitely. I'm just going to switch to this. I can hear like the lagging. I'm like, I know my microphone's going to fuck up again. So, does this sound okay? Does it sound okay, guys?
I can hear you fine. Yeah.
It's nothing more annoying than I go back and listen to the replay and it's just me going, yeah, with the, with the bad audio. I'm like, I hate my internet. Anyway. Yeah, I mean, so like a lot of guys they hear these red pill or black pill, more like it, channels complaining about hypergamy, but it's like you can use it to your advantage if you understand how it works. You can absolutely use it to your advantage. So it's like don't worry about it so much. Getting into the next thing on our list here, I have guys who are over investing in text messages. So, we talked about this a little bit already, but guys. There's also guys, and I can sort of add this into that bucket, where they will just text message for days on end too, right? They think that they have to build rapport over text, and they won't get the hell off the dating app. And those are both those things. Over investing in text and texting way too much will shoot you in the foot in the dating. I think that a lot of guys are struggling with that. And we mentioned it earlier. You can see if you're over investing by just holding your phone back and looking at text bubble sizes. Have you ran into guys doing that kind of stuff, spending too much time chatting online and not too much time talking, less time banging, right?
Yeah, it's because they think that they're going to build up this amazing connection over text message, when in reality you should be texting to set up a date so you can build the chemistry in person. I think a lot of guys think that if I text her more, she's going to become more comfortable with me, she's going to become so familiar with me, she's going to want me even more. Like, how do I raise her attraction over text? So I break the dating process down into three main areas. You have kind of like your marketing and your advertising, which is your dating apps, your social profiles, your website, right? Like, how are you bringing people into your ecosystem? That's the front end of the process. If the front end of the process is broken, you're not going to get anything else because you have no leads. So how do you get more leads? The sales process is how you communicate. It's how you are on dates. It's really how you make her feel when she is around you, right? So if you're a guy who thinks that you can sell over text message, you're a fool, because there's not really any emotions invoked in texting. Now, can you move the needle 10, 15% via texting to get her more interested and attracted? You can get her more engaged in the conversation, but that should move to voice notes, a FaceTime, and or a real date. It should be used to warm her up and get her excited about the dates, but not to grow her attraction to a degree where she wants to sleep with you. It ain't going to happen. The only time that's going to happen is if you're talking to like a 21-year-old chick who just wants to hook up and you tell her you want to hook up and she's super attracted to you. She sees you as like a 9 or a 10 out of 10. Other than that, you should be using texting as a way to get a date and warm her up to a better conversation. You're basically showing that you're normal, not overly needy, you're interesting, you're intelligent over text. And then you're using that as an opportunity to meet her. And then in person, you can sell. But you shouldn't be selling over text.
Yeah. See, I would do the opposite. I would always close for the date on over text. And then I would tell them to give me their number after I closed for the date as sort of another test of interest. And then I would move interactions over to text and send voice messages that way. But I'd always close for the date on the app over text.
Yeah. I mean, as long as you're shooting for the date, that's the most important thing. Most men are not shooting for the date. Most men are trying to like, I want to get to know her. I'll get to know her in person. You know, we're not dating via Zoom. Like, get to know her in person.
Yeah, definitely. Glenn, is my audio still rough? Like, so I reduced my video quality down and I changed to a different mic. Is it still bad? Like, God, fucking annoying.
I can hear it fine now. Maybe it's your internet connection. Not 100% sure.
It's got to be my internet connection. So yeah, I reduced the bandwidth by changing the quality of the video, and I changed it to a different mic. So hopefully this smooths out here. So annoying. This is like the 5th time something like this has happened. Super annoying. All right. So we have overinvesting in text. We have you sent me where to meet high quality women. Where to meet the high quality women. And I put here that you can't find them in the cow pasture, guys. Can't find them in the cow pasture. Where do you find high quality women these days, Evan?
I think that is $1 million question, because we are in a dating market where it's so confusing of the balance of dating apps versus in person. So what I will say is the highest volume and number of people that are qualified to date you are on dating apps. I know a lot of guys are not happy to hear that. They don't have a lot of success on dating apps, not working for them. It's a tool in your tool belt. It's not the only way that you can meet women. But I think it's like right around 50% of long-term relationships are the product of a dating app nowadays. And those studies are a couple years old. And I think that after COVID, even more so, because everybody kind of hates dating apps, but they know that they're a necessary evil. What I will say is, if you're trying to meet women in person and you want to find a woman who's a good match for you, try to meet women doing things that you're both interested in. Join a club sport, join a team. You know, I don't know, some kind of hobby. And when guys come to me and I'm coaching guys and they're asking me like, where should I meet women? What should I do? I'm like, you should get out of your house more. That's the first part. You should get out of your house. You should stop watching TV, playing video games, and jerking off all the time. Like, it's not much more complicated than that. You need to go out and you need to do things that you're motivated to do, and you need to learn a new skill. Because while you're learning that skill, you're probably going to meet other people, and women will be there that are learning that skill as well, and you're going to be more marketable to women. So again, there's no shortage of places that you can meet women. I guess the real question is, like, are you the type of guy that they truly want to be with? Because if you're a 10 out of 10 for a woman, and you meet her like in the most like, you know, inconspicuous place in the world, like in a parking lot outside of a restaurant or something, she's going to want to date you. You know how women say, don't approach me in the gym? That's BS. That's a rule for men that they're not into. And it's a rule for men who don't do it at the right times. So just understand that the gym, the store, yoga, dance classes, learning a new language, all of these different things, you can meet women doing those things, right? But you have to still be the guy that they want to be with. And yes, you have to get better on dating apps if you want a better, success rate of meeting women. And then the last one could be Instagram. I've had a lot of guys who have had success meeting women on Instagram. I know that is it Benny who talks about meeting women on Facebook and stuff like that? Like Facebook and Instagram, yeah. Yeah, there's plenty of opportunities to do that. The difference is when you're meeting women on dating apps, you know they're single, right? And of course, it's the woman's job to tell you she's single. But, there's mutual interest, and you know it's a match, so you know it's a qualified lead. Instagram, you're a little bit more like shooting in the dark, but you're also going to have to make sure that your profile is dialed in. So understand that all the ways that you're going to meet low quality women, you can meet high quality women in the same place. You just still have to be marketable enough to be the guy that they want to be with. and you have to do something about it. How many, you ever seen those videos on TikTok where it's like going out with the boys and it's like gives like this scorecard of like, she's so hot, she's so attractive, that's a baddie. Women approach 0 because nobody does anything. That's the problem. Like, you're not taking any action. So women are not going to approach you, dude. It's very rare. Like, unless you're like the very select percentage of guys, women are not going to approach you, especially when they're sober. So you have to do something about it.
God damn it. Glenn says my audio is rough again. So I don't know what to do, man. I can't reboot my router here in the middle, but maybe we'll just wrap this up real quick. So I have here calling women out for their bullshit. I have a guy who got mad because this chick said she's not interested in dating, and then a couple days later saw her profile on Hinge. So he decides that he's going to call her out, and he sends her a text message saying, "Hey," sends a screenshot of her stuff like, "I thought you weren't into dating or whatever." It's like, so I just asked him, I was like, "Did that make you feel better, dude?" Like, because that doesn't accomplish anything. It really doesn't accomplish anything. It might make you feel better, but it's not going to change her behavior. You're really wasting your time, and it also puts you in the wrong mindset of not caring. You really start getting this negative mindset about women, and you start looking at all women like potential bitches like that. So I just to me it's a huge waste of time, and I don't recommend doing that because it just sort of leads you down this negative mindset path, and you'll spiral. Have you ran into that at all?
I think that there's certain things that I think it should be looked at as like holding somebody accountable, but you can hold somebody accountable who you're dating, right? Like, if you're dating for like maybe 3, 4 dates, or if you're in a relationship, then you can hold somebody accountable to being true to what they said. But I don't think it should be in the regards of like if they're dating other people, because that just makes you look insecure. So as much as it's going to piss you off and it's going to bother you, I don't think it makes a lot of sense to keep calling women out about that. But I think if you're dating a woman who's saying one thing and doing something different, you need to very clearly convey, you have to clearly convey that I thought you were XYZ, but I'm noticing you're doing XYZ. What's up with that? And here's the way that I look at it. And this is more so geared for relationships than necessarily dating. I think in dating, you can be kind of ruthless and have like a 1-strike policy for some things. But if you're in a relationship with a woman, I have like kind of like a 2-strike rule, a 2-strike policy. If something bothers you, you bring it up, you ask her to change it. She changes it a little bit, and then it happens again, and you ask her to work on it or change it again. It's something that's disrespectful or rude in the relationship, but she doesn't change it. I'm like hands off at that point. It's like, okay, if you're not going to change that, then I'm not going to engage in this anymore. Because like, if you would afford her the same opportunity to work on things for her and she's not doing that for you, it's because she doesn't respect you. And you shouldn't be in a relationship with a woman who doesn't respect you. So I kind of have like a 2-strike policy on that. So I think it's about holding people accountable to being good partners, not necessarily just like calling them out on their BS, especially if it's in regards to dating other people. Because if she's not your girlfriend, she can technically, date other people.
Yeah, definitely. It's kind of like the don't talk, walk thing, right?
Yeah, don't talk about it, be about it.
Yeah. So you also have here when and how to make a move physically and escalate. One thing that I always look at first dates, and I mentioned this earlier, that I always looked at first dates like a chemistry test. Do I even like her or not? Do we get along okay? Do I even want to ask her out for a second date? And as a test of interest, either like, if she was showing very high interest in the middle of the date, go for a kiss in the middle of the date. But if it was questionable, I would wait until the end of the date, walk her back to her car or something like that. But if I liked her, I'd always go for that kiss, no matter what kind of signs were there, because that was, to me, the ultimate test of interest. So that was a great way I found to escalate things. And then, second or third dates, I would invite them over to my house for dinner, and I would cook them dinner or something like that. And then throughout the interaction, I would do the Corey Wayne 2 steps forward, 1 step back, where I would sort of like go in for a kiss and back up a little bit and touch her and, be playful and stuff like that throughout the whole entire interaction. So by the end of the date, like, I didn't really have to do a lot to escalate, because by then she was already like revved up, I've already been sort of doing it throughout the whole date. Like, she was ready to take my clothes off. So what do you recommend for guys in that regard?
Well, you're right. It's about warming her up. I think what a lot of men don't understand about women and their physical attraction to men is it's more of a gradual buildup, right? It's not a like, oh, I meet him and I want to hook up right now. Sure, they might think that, but it's a gradual buildup, a little bit of mystery, and they want to know like, is he as into me as I am into him? And is he going to make a move? It's a little bit of sexual tension when there's that attraction there. But if you're a guy and you want to make a move on a first date, what you should understand is that you shouldn't always save it to the end of the date to break what we call the touch barrier. What you should be doing is you should be positioning yourself on the date to be around her or close to her. So that way you can put your arm around her, hold her hand. And then what I recommend is if your date is like a dynamic date where you're starting at one place and you're going to a second place, in between going to the second place, if you've been holding hands and touching a little bit so far, then I would go for the kiss before you take the drive to the next spot or you walk to the next spot. Now that's pretty ballsy. A lot of guys might not be able to pull that off or they might not want to listen to that. But if she's already holding your hand, your arms are on her, she's receptive, she's near you, she wants you to kiss her. So if you're a guy who's thinking about maybe even hooking up on the first date, you're not going to go from a kiss in a parking lot near a car to going home and hooking up if you haven't already kissed her on that date. So I think it's a gradual buildup. It's a gradual process throughout the date to keep raising her interest. And then maybe by the end of the day, if she's down to hook up, then she wants to hook up. But that's completely, up to her and up to you guys and what you want.
Yeah, definitely. And then we got the last one here, and then we'll wrap up. I have girls flaking out last minute. That's probably the number one thing that guys can't stand. So there's something that you could do to minimize that, but you cannot. I don't know. Do you think you can completely eliminate flakes?
Shameless plug. Definitely go watch one of my most recent videos about preventing women from flaking. So shameless plug. Go watch that video after our live. But there's no way you can completely eliminate a woman from flaking on a date. But what you can do to reduce the flake rate is you have to build trust. You have to build familiarity. You have to build like a concept of an upside of that date. And she also has to feel like it's going to be a good time. So if you're not making her excited to meet you, if she's not interested in you, if you're not mysterious in any degree, and she just thinks that this is going to be some extra, drink date, it's going to be boring. You've exchanged 3 text messages. You're going into the date completely cold, right? Like if you think about it from a business perspective, you would rather have a qualified meeting or qualified lead than have a cold call. Because you cold call somebody, they don't know you, you don't know them. It's like, all right, I guess I'll take a meeting. And then you know what that means? On the meeting, I got to sell. I would rather go on a date where it's a little bit warmed up already. So again, this is why I talk about FaceTime, phone call, voice notes. You don't need to do them all, but you need to mix in one of them before you go on the date. And what you need to do is you need to set a definitive date and time and set that day like 2 or 3 days out. That's what I recommend as the ideal time frame to set the date out. Not a week. I know Corey Wayne says a week and don't talk to him for a week. It doesn't work nowadays. Like I love CW, one of my favorite people on the internet, right? But it's not going to work. You can't not text a woman for a week after a date and think she's still going to be interested. Like unless she's totally desperate, she'll be interested. And you cannot set a date a week out without talking to her. If you have to set a date a week out, text a little bit after you set the date, then wait a day and a half and message her and say, hey, listen, I'm looking forward to our date on Monday. Can I, give you a quick call on Friday night? It would be nice to catch up with you. Want to talk about a few things before our date. And if she's interested, she'll be like, okay, cool. And if she is into you, she's going to be a little bit more relieved and not anxious about, is he going to text me? Like, is this date on? Because the longer time that you wait in between setting the date and going on the date, the flake rate is going to go up. So it has to be 2 to 3 days out. There has to be good communication before the date. There has to be trust, familiarity, and upside built around that date that it's going to be a good time and you're going to be a guy who's normal and engaging. So that's how you're going to pretty much lower or reduce your flake rate, or if you meet her in person, because I'm going through the lens of a dating app. If you meet a woman in person, you hug, you talk, you know each other, she's not going to bail on the date unless something legitimate comes up. And then, of course, the next logical question is, if a woman flakes, how do you handle that? Again, this one depends how she flakes. If she completely flakes and doesn't offer to reschedule, you and I both know, goodbye, don't date her. If she says, really sorry, I can't make it, I really feel bad, I do want to meet you, can we do Tuesday? Accept that. If she flakes again, 2-strike rule, she's out.
Yeah, I don't really have much more to add to that. I would say, it's good to close for a date at a high point in a conversation. That's one thing that minimizes that. Like you said already, make sure not to set dates too far in advance. Um, Unlike another thing that I disagree with Corey on is the no confirm thing. I always follow the Dave Parada confirm method. So I would send a message the night before saying something like, "Yeah, I can't wait to see what you picked out to wear for me," or something like that, right? Like it's not a very needy text, but it is a confirmation text. And if she doesn't get back to me before the date, I just don't show up. I don't waste my time showing up
Yeah.
because she's flaked. Like it sort of gives her an out if she's going to flake anyway, and then you just don't waste your time. So, and then one thing, I don't know if you've heard of it, but Dr. Robert Glover has a third book called Frequently Asked Questions, and he's got people that ask him about flaky women. So he's got a whole entire chapter on it, and basically he's like, women are just naturally flaky, like that. That you just, it's just a part of dating. And every dating coach I've ever met, they all have, ways to minimize it, but you can't, it's never zero. You can't minimize it to zero. So
And men and women are different. Men and women are different in that regard because I'll tell you, man, I've had women that I've dated in the past that before we went on the date, I could have thought that this girl didn't think I meant a shit of difference in the to the world. I went on the date and she was extremely interested. And I'm like thinking to myself, like, why is that? Because from a guy's perspective, we don't understand because we're pushing so hard to get the date. But from a woman's perspective, she's more patient, more objective. Like, I've dated attractive men. Yes, he seems successful. He seems normal. But is he really a guy that I want to be with long term? Is he safe? Do I feel comfortable around him? Is he going to be creepy? Is he going to be weird? Is he going to be impatient? Is he going to try to push too fast? So all of these things are going through women's mind because you have to understand women are trying to protect themselves, right? Like men are more physically dominant, men are more aggressive, men have testosterone, men want to have sex. Like it's not really complicated when you break it down that way, but women are trying to like, all right, let me slow this down if he's moving too fast. That's why, again, as men, we have to date like women and we have to slow it down because it blows their mind. When a guy doesn't care about the outcome of a date, indifference, like we talked about before, when a guy doesn't care about the outcome of a date and he's just there to qualify her, to see if she's cool, to see how things go, she's like, huh, that's interesting. Because most guys are not like that. This guy's different. And you have to be different if you want to be successful with women. You can't be like every other dumbass who's on a dating app, sending heart eye emojis, swiping up on their stories, and doing all this weak behavior. You have to be different. You have to be secure and confident because that's what a woman wants.
Yeah, very well said. Let's go ahead and end on that note, Evan. Where can people find you online?
Yeah, man. Performancepotential.co, not .com, performancepotential.co. I recommend if you guys want to see some of my longer content, which is where I'm going to be focused on, it's going to be on YouTube, just at Performance Potential. But yeah, otherwise, like just follow my content. Same thing on TikTok, Performance Potential. And if you guys want to get in touch with me, you can, comment, you can DM me on Instagram. The handle is the same all over the place. But as Paul talked about before, I've been coaching guys for a long time. I've coached well over 1,000 men at this point. The dating app course has done really well. I've gotten good feedback from the guys who really want to know like what to put in their profile, exactly how to open up and exactly how to, close on dates essentially. So, follow Paul's link if you're interested in that. But, I always love joining the podcast, man. We got to get back together, more often. I think, you're doing a great job and a great thing, like helping out all the guys who follow you.
Try to. Hopefully next time you come on, audio issues won't be so bad.
It'll be fine, man.
All right. Well, can you hang out for a little bit after we close out?
Yep.
All right. I'm going to put you backstage and I'm going to wrap up here. All right, guys. I'm going to try to make this quick because the audio issues never get totally better. So if you guys haven't done so already, please like, subscribe, hit those notifications. If you guys are watching on the replay, drop a comment below. Just let me know that you saw this. Follow me on all social media. The links are in the description. The link for Evan's in the description too. I put a link to his link tree there, so you can follow him wherever he's at. Join the Patreon, patreon.com/comeonmanpod. You can join for as little as $10. If you want any kind of coaching from me, tiers, I do my coaching through Patreon. So tiers 2 and 3 are available for you. But if you just want to support the show, join for $10, and then you get my Practical Law of Attraction course for half off for the entire month of February, which is almost over. So time is running out. And get on the email list.comeonmanpod.com. I'll send you some stickers. And then the next time you guys watch a live stream, I do these every Wednesday and Friday. Send the super chat, guys. Send the super chat. Don't be stingy. Don't be stingy with those. All right. Be sure to tune in tomorrow morning at 11:30 a.m. Eastern time for Rule 0. I don't know who's hosting. But follow me on social media, and we'll find out. You can find out from me there. And then tune into Monday's episode, because my man Glenn Lawrence, who's in the comments here, right here, saying my audio sucks. Glenn is my guest, and he has a really terrible story about a time he was falsely accused of grape. We have to say grape on YouTube. And it's crazy stories. It's a really long podcast, though. It's like 2 hours long. So strap in, because it's a really good interview. So check that out on Monday morning. Other than that, I guess we'll see you guys. We'll see you guys on Monday. And
This has been the Come On Man podcast. Now, go out and get it.